So we're continuing with Nizi Project 2. This is episode 8, and we left off at the star level tests. So last time we got to see about 7 people perform. One of them didn't get the star level cube, and that is Komori Yuhi, but everyone else did. So this is where we left off, and continues again. The next person is Yuki. So this is Nishiyama Yuki. He came out with a green outfit with these glittery rhinestones. Everyone is already amused at seeing his outfit. But he's going to be performing Fever by JYP. And he choreographed his part apparently, and he also added a Korean tongue twister. So this is what he's kind of planning to do. This is his practice. But we get to his actual performance. And I felt like his movements were pretty good, and the acting is top notch. His tongue twister, when he actually got to that part, I felt it was a little bit weird, and he kind of repeated it for like a really long time, and so that was kind of like slightly awkward that it kind of dragged out like that, because it could have been like way more impactful, but I don't really know the purpose of the repetition, but maybe it means something in terms of difficulty. But for the people just watching, I didn't really know where it was going. But other than that, everyone was having fun. And so that's my thoughts on it. When it came to JYP said he expressed him well, but he wanted him to add something that was like personally creative and unique for him. And for that reason, he didn't get a cube at first. He's going to get one later. And so he's not in any danger at this point. He's actually keeping up pretty well with everyone else. But, you know, at this point, he doesn't know that he's going to get a cube until later. In fact, he's the only person who gets a cube later on. But moving on, we go to Mira Sodai. Now, he's doing a yo-yo performance. It helped him relax, apparently, when he was learning. And there wasn't really much else to say about it. But he gets to his performance, and I feel like it was interesting. For me, it was enjoyable. You know, I actually thought it would get way more nuts when the music actually started, because at some point he was just showing us the moves, but then he got his like glow in the dark LED lit yo-yo, and then he was doing way more moves to the music. But I feel like he could have rotated his own body more, because the moves were kind of like starting to look repetitive. Like he kept doing this same bouncing move, and he kept doing it at the perfectly 90-degree angle to his left. And so at that point I was kind of like starting to look a little repetitive. But JYP, he said that he thought he presented it well, and for that reason he got him a cube. So it's kind of well, it is what it is. I think that Sodai is like not someone you want to really knock down at all, because he's too good vocally. If you guys follow the vocal evaluations from before, you'll find that there's only a very small number of really good vocalists in this potential group, and Sodai is probably one of the ones that it hinges on the most, but he is consistently good in everything else. He's basically the Mako of this season so far, and so he's doing well, and I think he's a shoo-in for the final group. I noticed that, I guess because of the decline in the number of people doing really well vocally, that a lot of viewers stopped watching the show as well, and so I don't know if a lot of people are very interested in this show and this group. But something else also worth mentioning is that the show, it only runs once a week. So for a show that's maybe losing interest, running once a week compared to A2K, which runs twice a week, in smaller episodes that's easier to consume, it's a quick way to kind of lose interest in the show, because I know that sometimes I even, like when it gets to the day where I'm supposed to continue doing this recording and then covering the show, I almost kind of forget that the show exists sometimes. And so I feel like this show would have been a lot better if they let it play twice in a week. And I always say this about other shows as well. They need to have 2 episodes a week, because people just lose steam and they just forget. But anyways, let's move on. So next up is Good Guy Takato Now, Takuto is one of the lowest ranking. He got the two bottom 20 badges, which is the lowest rank. But he seems to doubt himself because of that. But he still encourages others behind the scenes, including supporting them all. And he's basically a humble guy. I say he's a good guy because during his audition you could tell that he's really just like just a normal person, and he's like good with his family and stuff. And just based on that, he should get a personality stone. Uh, but anyways, for his performance, he's doing a story-driven drum performance, and apparently he's been doing it since the age of 3. Uh, and so, it's sad that he and Takao is the first person you ever see, Takado's the second, and they're both in the bottom. So it's kind of sad, and Takado especially seems like a good guy. But anyways, doing his drum thing. In his actual performance, I noticed, hey, this guy, he was acting as if he's in the theater. And I didn't really expect that. I expected it to be kind of like just a pure dance, but it seemed to be kind of a theater type performance instead. And I thought it was pretty cool. Like some of the poses he was doing and his footwork, it was really good. And I was just really impressed with what he did. And now JYP basically said everything I said, but he also added to it. JYP says he was acting. He was impressed that he could keep beat. And he was doing it like there was a 16th beat or something, like just doing it really fast with your drums. Really hard, by the way, keeping timing and using your physical hands and stuff. And he says that he was cool and funny at the same time. And then he got a cube. The first cube for Takuto, which at this point brings him out of the doghouse, I would say. And right now that leaves only Takao as a person without any stones. Now, moving on, we get to Inoue Haru. So far, we know that he originally came to JYP knowing pop and dance, and it was a thing he had to unlearn. And so, for his performance, he's doing the story of a robot, and he's also doing some voiceovers for his performance, playing a kind of character who's not seen. But the story is basically about his hard days of practice. So he gets into it, and he's doing the kind of robot thing, the robot that comes to life when the kid leaves the house. And I did think it was kind of cool, but then I feel like the robot wasn't as robot-y as it could have been. Like I just felt like these movements, like they're okay, they're pretty good, but there's something about it that's just missing. I don't know what it is. It's like there's just something about the movements that don't quite feel all the way there as far as robot goes. And maybe I just have really high standards for people who do the robot. But I just feel like some robot moves are they're just way more mechanical, whereas this one he's kind of smooth a little bit. And then he gets into the poppin' part of his dance, and I feel like it's way better. It's more his thing, and it's a fun story idea overall when he finishes. But anyways, JYP, his opinion is that he expressed his story with a lot of humor. JYP was impressed, and he said both the idea and performance were good. And for that reason, Haru got a cube. After this, we get to Ito Eiji, who is kind of JYP's Rain, his new Rain, that's what he calls him. He's singing a song from his audition. Well, not singing it, but he's performing an arranged version by beatboxing. And it's funny how behind the scenes, he kind of wants to keep his beatboxing hidden, but Tomoya keeps hinting at it, kind of like jokingly. And it's kind of interesting because I feel like Eiji, who's one of the most favored people in the competition by JYP himself, that he's so shy, about it. And for that reason, I have to check off one of these boxes here for. Where is it? Where is it? Shy Samurai. Is there anything else here? Nothing so far. But we're doing pretty poorly on this bingo thing. When we get back to it, And behind the scenes, you can see that his beatboxing is pretty good. But something I wanted to mention is that behind the scenes, he got questioned by Haru a bit, and it didn't seem. It was like Haru was like curious, but not curious in kind of a fun way. I felt a little bit kind of a standoffish energy here. Now maybe I'm reading too much into it, but there was something kind of weird about this exchange. Something kind of slightly off. I don't know if it's rivalry, but it's possible that it is rivalry. So I have a spot here for top two rivals. That could come out soon because these guys are doing really well, and there may be a power struggle at some point. But I did notice the energy wasn't quite like that normal. But maybe it's just their way of sizing each other up, and they'll be fine otherwise. But I just wanted to mention that I noticed that. So he gets to AG's performance, and obviously behind the scenes he's pretty good. But he gets to his performance, and I know that it's like a fun skill, but to me it seems more like a showcase rather than the kind of performance that's so good that you can kind of just nod your head to it and follow along with it. Like, I didn't feel like it was that entertaining as far as the song goes, but it was impressive as far as the skill goes. Right? Now, other people in the room, they probably enjoyed it way more, seeing it in real time. But for me, I didn't really feel anything out of the screen from it. But for JYP, now JYP is saying AG's dancing, his singing, and star power are completely consistent together, and he feels his street hip hop is like a style that he just like completely shines through his soul, and for that reason, AG he ended up getting a cube. But I do feel that because JYP sees him as his new reign, I do feel there's some favoritism there. But, I don't know if his performance was that great, but I do recognize that his dance and vocals are good enough on that side of things. But anyways, next up is the funny guy, Tomoya. He has a funny look to him. He prepared a cane and bowler hat, and he wants to do a performance as a phantom thief who steals a cube. And he's gonna do it to Switch to Me, which is a song that we hear so much, but it's basically one of JYP's best songs. In this case, Tomoya he's familiar with writing and arranging his own music, but he's gonna do his own arrangement for Switch to Me. And he also has some fake prop cube, so the story's gonna be about him kind of stealing the, I guess, star level cube. But we get to the performance, and I think it's pretty fun to watch. Like, for me, I feel like he was impressive in his acrobatics and his like spinning and twirling. At some point, I wondered, did he mess up? And he did when he dropped his cane. And other than that, it was impressive, and it was even more impressive when his own arrangement of Switch to Me started partially through the song. And at that point, he started like really like just giving it all. And JYP, his feelings on it were that, well, he gave him a cube right away, first of all. But to JYP, both his choreo and dance were amazing. And JYP was impressed with the level of difficulty in his choreo. And JYP also acknowledged that he made two mistakes, but he still went kind of beyond to impress with this particular challenge because he didn't have to do a difficult choreo. But that aside, JYP did say that he could potentially be a great choreographer, and that he had the best dance skills so far. And so that was really like good for his self-esteem. And that pretty much rounds out the last performer that we get to see the full performance of. So yeah, he got the star level cube, and then we get to the next guys, and the thing about the next guys is they're all summarized, and so we don't get to see it. And as far as we know, Enomoto Yuto and Inagaki Taichi, the other Taichi, got the star level cubes, and so only two more people got the cubes in terms of the actual performance. And I'm kind of like disappointed that they didn't show the performances because I feel like it was probably worth watching. But I guess if the show thinks it's worth summarizing, then maybe they're not going to make the group. And then, other than that, so up to that point, there were only 7 people who didn't get the cube, and 1 additional person was going to get it. And it turned out to be our boy Yuki here from the beginning. He ended up getting the cube in later deliberations, and that basically means that for this, up to this point, Takao is the only person who doesn't have a cube, and then that just leaves one more final mission, and there was no ranking given, and so in the next episode, I'm pretty sure final mission teams are going to be announced, and then we may see the performances or see practice, but who knows? But these are long episodes compared to A2K, so that's that. So the people who got summarized in terms of their performance, I just want to name them. They're Enomoto Yuto, who got a cube, Inagaki Taichi, who got a star level cube, and then other than that, we have Takahashi Ryo, Nagatsuka Kohei, Wataru Shokei, Kawashima Seita, and Yamaguchi Takao. They didn't get to show the full performances of theirs. They got briefly summarized, and there were no rankings at the end of the episode. So that is that. And so far, this show is okay. I like it. But I noticed that there's been a huge drop off. Actually, I used to have this weird ping ponging on my video views where one video would get 50 and then another would get like a few hundred. And now it's kind of like ping. It used to ping pong and then now it just dropped off. And so something happened at some point. I think it's after the vocal that people lost interest. And so this show, I feel like people are losing interest. And also because it's only once a week, it kind of like it's kind of something that you would stop remembering or thinking about during the course of the week, and then there's no real online discussion over this as well. A lot of it is very I don't know what, they're just keeping it really small, and it seems like the show is also being syndicated on some service, I'm sure, and YouTube, but other than that, it's very it doesn't have a huge following, and I don't know if it's being like overshadowed by A2K and Produce 101 Japan starting next month, but so far, not a lot of buzz on the show, and it's getting kind of it's getting kind of lonely in here. I don't see a lot of people talking about it, but anyways, I guess that's it. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you don't like it, give it a thumbs down. And if you're not subscribed, consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next video.